very strange, bizarre shape. Is this a new trend? What is it? It really reminded me of my Game Boy for some reasons. These like BLOBJECT bags are coming back. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Jess. Today I wanted to talk about predicting fashion trends of the future. I was looking into different Y2K aesthetics and I watched a YouTube video about it, which I'll link below. It was really helpful. And they were talking about how there was this genre called BLOBJECT, like buildings that are shaped in a blob-like way or are very futuristic. And I do remember when the year 2000 happened that it felt like we were going into the future and fashion was being very futuristic, and there were like influence of like aliens, and maybe like movies like The Matrix also influenced fashion. And there's this one area of Y2K aesthetic called BLOBJECT or like BLOBJECTs. And if you look at MacBooks from, you know, the early 2000s, they were very clear and they had this like weird bulbous shape to them, and a lot of like objects, homewares, even fashion objects were this weird bulbous kind of style. And I saw these Gucci bags recently advertised on my Instagram, and it really reminded me of this aesthetic, this blob-like styling, very minimal, kind of futuristic, and these really saturated colors. And I noticed that on these new Gucci men's bags, there was a little kind of tech case hanging off the side. And I know around the early 2000s, everyone was really obsessed with like tech and like Walkmans or like little pocket organizers, you know, computers. And this really reminded me of that. It's something about that design was very nostalgic to me, this new Gucci men's bag. Upon first seeing it, I think it comes in like this bright green and the purpley shade. I thought it was a bit of a lazy design, but then I thought, you know, this styling, it's something about it is triggering a memory, and that's why I went down like the research of like these BLOBJECTs. And it really reminds me also of like my purple Game Boy holder, which I've had since I was very young. I did keep it but for the memories. And if you look at the inside, like you can get a lot of fashion inspiration from this actually, like the mesh detailing, the clear plastic. Even my Game Boy is like a clear plastic in purple, which is very reminiscent of those like Mac computers from back in the day. And this kind of styling, and even like the way that Pokemon were drawn, like Mewtwo and Mew, like these weird rounded shapes and the colors they were in, like the purple colors, it's very much the vibe of that era. And I feel like this blob vibe is coming back. So I wanted to talk about, I don't know what to call this aesthetic, like blobcore or something. BLOBJECTs. These like BLOBJECT bags are coming back. And I haven't seen it heaps in fashion yet, but I feel like it's coming. So first reason why I feel like it's coming is because I saw these Gucci men's bags and I'm like, that is triggering a memory. What is that? And it's the BLOBJECTs, guys. This is BLOBJECTs. So they're very smooth, bulbous bags, but then they have these like tech elements to it. And I know that the multi-pochette, for example, has been pretty trending for the last few years, but that was more of like a military kind of look. This is more of like influence from like, yeah, like cases that would hold headphones or hold computer equipment and that sort of thing. It's a little bit more of a futuristic take. So I think this vibe is going to be something that people reference in the next coming years, in my opinion. Now, I did notice in one of Pharrell's recent Louis Vuitton shows, he designed a bag that was also very blob-like, and it definitely reminds me of some of those BLOBJECT buildings and just the vibe of the early 2000s. It's a very round kind of monogram bag, but it has this like futuristic alien-like element to it that I thought was very unique, and it's very different from like some of these like vintage vibes we've been feeling the last like year or so. You know, we've kind of been going down this whole like obsessed with classic looks kind of thing. This is like a rebellion from that. It's like very non-classic. It's not very generic. It's a very strange, bizarre shape that seems like the future. It's very alien. And I feel like this idea is very, it could be a trend. It could be a trend. Now, I don't know how many people would warm up to this trend because it's a little bit bizarre, but I will say that I don't know if it's going to be a successful trend because of how strange it is, but I do think it's tapping into that BLOBJECT. Now, this design that Pharrell did, I feel like it also reminds me of a bag that Karl Lagerfeld designed in the early 2000s as well, and it was called the Millennium bag, I believe. Super Jacob has actually done a video on this bag on his channel, but I remember seeing this bag sometimes on the pre-love market and thinking it was awfully random, and it was a bag that Karl designed basically with the future in mind, and I think this bag was released in 2005, and it's also a very bulbous shape, a blobject, as I like to call it, and it's designed in a way that I think it's supposed to be like a headrest, and it has this like very interesting little chain, very different from traditional Chanel bags that are just like, you know, basic flap bags, you know, with a chain. He was thinking a little bit more, what is a different bag silhouette we can do? Something not so branded, something very smooth in texture, very hard cased, very interesting. And the Pharrell bag reminded me of that, just the vibe of it. Now, recently, there has been a brand called Coperni as well, which I don't actually know much about, but I know Bella Hadid had her moment on the runway where they were like spray painting a dress on her. I think that was Coperni. And that was also a very futuristic kind of idea, to spray paint a dress onto you. And Coperni, I think, also taps into this like early Y2K aesthetic with their designs. Now, if you look at one of their viral bags, I forgot what it's called, but it's very rounded, and I think it came out in like a glass material, or it came out in glass, and it was very popular and very, very viral on TikTok. I don't really follow TikTok, but I did see it a lot on my social media. This bag is also, I think, a good take on this aesthetic, so that whole like blob minimalistic vibe. You can purchase this bag as well in leather variations, and it often goes on sale. And I have seen it in like metallic colors and those very bright colors as well. And I feel like metallics and latex is also a trend that we're going to be seeing a lot in the next coming year or so, just because it kind of like feeds into the same time that the blob objects were cool. Like if you think of like film clips from that era, like TLC, and just what people were having in their homes, like those weird chairs and everything, that is kind of coming back. I've seen even in modern day furniture, those like weird rounded couches, and like even like silver, sterling silver kind of bowls, and I feel like they're coming back. Like, let me know if you think I'm right, guys, but I feel like that aesthetic is the thing that is going to be trending the next year or so. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about those blobjects today. I know it was a very random video actually, but I was just trying to pinpoint, what is the purpose of this Gucci bag? Like, why did they design it like this? Is this a new trend? What is it? It really reminded me of my Game Boy for some reason, so I had to talk about it, just get it out of my system. Thanks for watching my video today, guys, and I'll get to you. Thanks for watching my video today, and I'll see you on my next one. Bye!